Hi, and welcome back to Issues That Matter. I am so excited to be able to share with you the guests that we have, but you might notice that there's one particular guest that's missing. Our host, Robert, is not with us today. He's got big political interviews to do this afternoon, so he's left me and the ladies to ourselves, so who knows what is going to happen in today's show. So first I'm going to tell you about Deb Bergeron. I heard about Deb, oh gosh, probably 10 years ago with her coaching Ocean of Possibilities, right? And I kept seeing her and hearing from other people about her, and I thought, wow, she is really cool. She's got sass and a really great reputation, and she looks really cool. And then another friend of mine, Alicia, plug for Alicia, said, hey, you should really come to 100 Women Who Care. Who wouldn't want to go to something called 100 Women Who Care? So I went, having no idea what it was about. And I met Deb, and Deb is the one that put 100 Women Who Care together. So we're going to meet Deb, hear about 100 Women Who Care. So excited to share with you. And Deb brought with her two guests who how do I say it? Recipients, thank you. Recipients of the donation accumulated, which happens every time, but I'll let Deb tell you that, of actually quite a bit of money, over $10,000 a piece. So stay tuned. So Deb, hi. You're here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Too.
Thank you.
So I'm going to play the devil's advocate and ask the questions, because I could say it's because my audience might not know, but really I don't know. Okay. Is 100 Women Who Care, is that a global thing, a national thing, or is that something you made up?
Yeah, it is. It's all around the country. I think probably right now there are 380.
Wow, 380.
Chapters, and growing all the time. Yeah, so it's very exciting.
And you started this in 2012?
2014.
2014.
So we're 3 years, a little over 3 years.
3 years. So what happened? How did you find out about them, and why did you want to bring that to Maine?
Well, I say it was divine inspiration how I found out.
Yeah.
I was looking, I grew up in Portland, and giving back is really important to me. And
well, you've got a coaching business, right? So that's who you are just innately.
Right, and I kept hearing from my clients, the women clients, they wanted connection, they wanted community, and they wanted to give back.
Yeah.
So I had been sitting looking for something, and so anyway, I heard about 100 Women, and then just kind of Googled a little bit, and then created a version that I thought would really meet the needs of women in Maine. And I put it out on Facebook thinking maybe there'd be, 30 or 40 women. And 6 weeks later we had a meeting with, I think about 75 women.
Wow.
So.
Wow. How is the 100 Women Who Care in Maine different than the other ones across the United States?
Well,
I know one, you've got more than 100.
Right.
I think you were saying close to 300 women who are.
298 women. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so it's really fun. And I didn't say it all started with Karen Dunnigan, 100 Women. Babies needed cribs. And so they were sleeping in drawers, and leave it to a woman. She was involved in the community, and she got some of her friends together, and they each donated $100. And they were able to raise $12,000 and get 300 baby cribs. So that's really how it started.
Wow.
And so I thought here in Maine, I had been on boards and watched nonprofits, falling apart because there was no money. And I thought, how cool is this? So I changed it a little bit to be more inclusive. So the commitment for women is $200 a year. And we meet quarterly.
So you meet 4 times, and do you get kicked off if you can't come?
No.
Okay.
No, we have so many women that, lives are busy. So the commitment is for a year, and so people donate $200, and we have many women that, might not be able to make a meeting, but they still send their checks, so we're very grateful.
Yeah. So you've been going for 3 years
3
now.
years.
And can you tell us, is it anonymous, or can you tell us some of the organizations that are a part of the 100 Women Who
Yeah,
Care?
well, and maybe I'll tell you a little bit how it works first.
Yeah, please.
Would you like that? So what happens is that any member can nominate their favorite nonprofit. So they have to be a 501(c), and I vet them, and then they all go in a box. So all the names of the charities.
So the members can say, "Hey, we nominate whatever."
Right.
So everybody puts in, or whoever wants to puts in the box,
Right.
a name of a nonprofit.
A name of a nonprofit.
And
that,
then somebody pulls out.
So at the night of the meeting, so we meet quarterly, and the night of the meeting, 3 are randomly picked, and so the women have to be ready to tell their story, and they have 5 minutes to give their pitch, and then 5 minutes of questions. And the women ask really good questions. You know, they want to know where the money goes, how, you know, and you'll hear from the other 2 guests that are recipients, you know, how, you know, where their money went. So we do that, and it's exciting. I mean, the energy in the room is amazing, amazing.
I was there when Adele, is that right?
Right, Adele
won.
Negro, right.
Oh my gosh! And so how many? There was like, she was teaching refugees how to sew. So they would, you know, learn. So she would help them learn
Right.
English and learn a skill that they could help bring in income for
Right.
themselves.
Right.
And her nonprofit was asking for money to be able to buy more sewing machines.
Sewing machines.
And didn't she buy like 12
She
sewing
did
machines?
buy sewing
It's just-
machines. It's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
It is
Yeah.
awesome to see.
So, and that's done not just one of the meetings, but that's done, the 3 are picked, and then the 3, does one win, or do all 3?
Yes. So what happens, and I don't even like to use the word win.
Win, yeah.
Because
I
they're
don't know.
all winners, you know.
Right.
So the women vote by secret ballot. So after the 3 presentations, everyone votes, and then the one with the most votes,
Gets
everyone
the money.
writes a check for $50 directly to the charity. So that's the other great thing. All the money goes to the nonprofit. And I really wanted to do something for the other 2 because they're all good, you know, and so often it's close, you know, the votes. So we've started a raffle, and we had an auction. So right now we're giving the other 2 presenters $250, and my vision is we'll get up to 500 really soon, and then maybe 1,000.
Yeah. And plus the education, I know when I heard the 3, there were organizations in Maine that I didn't know existed,
Right.
like the Locker Project. You know, that was fascinating. The backpack where they would put food for kids for the weekend, so if they were getting help eating during the week, and then on the weekend they didn't have anything, this particular one was giving them a backpack of food for the weekend. I thought that is just awesome.
It's awesome.
There's so many, like there's so many wonderful organizations that are giving back in our community, and I don't think our community realizes how much our community is doing.
Right, and it's so educational. So, you know, at each meeting we hear about 3, so yeah, and the ripple effect is just beautiful, because what I've seen is people will write checks to the other organizations, they become volunteers, they've had families, it's a resource for families that might be going through whatever that particular organization is, you know, offering. So, and the collective heart, like women love to get together, and we're leveraging our money. Right, and so
keeping it local.
Keeping it local, and you know, most of the charities are grassroots. You know, people want to help the small charities, and yeah, it's just so much fun, and yeah, I'm so grateful the women have all stepped up, and you know, we really it's like an event. You know, we make it fun.
There's great food.
Yeah,
there were
great
food,
snacks.
Yeah. Everybody was dressed up. I was like, oh, look
and
what she's wearing. That's fabulous.
And I love prizes, so I always have door prizes
yes.
and now raffles.
Who's the lady who does the organizing? I hired her. She was fantastic.
Donna?
Donna.
Oh, isn't she great? Me too.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like,
Donna,
come over
we
and
love
help me
Donna.
organize.
Yeah.
So let's meet our guests.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 recipients of 100 Women is Janet from Southern Maine Agency on Aging.
And I'm Alexandra Sega, Family Hope.
Family Hope.
So the family aging, this is, I see the signs all over the place, but I don't know if I really, like, do you teaching Tai Chi to senior citizens? I don't,
that.
right? We do that. We have an app for that.
Right, we do, yeah. The Southern Maine Agency on Aging is, we could talk all day about that. We do many, many things in the community. We cover Cumberland and York counties. That's our catchment area. There are other agencies on aging that cover other parts of the state. And we can refer if someone calls and they're actually out, we won't turn anyone away, but we'll help them find the right agency on aging. But we do a whole series of programs. Our CEO likes to say from hale to frail. So we have programs that are on healthy aging, most evidence-based programs that, for example, for balance and for preventing falls, and we do Meals on Wheels, which a lot of people have heard of.
Yeah.
And those are nutritionally sound, delicious, actually quite delicious meals that are delivered to people's homes twice a week. And it's, we like to say it's more than a meal, it's a smile, it's a visitor. And for people who cannot cook for themselves and get out, it's often sometimes the only contact they really have during the week. And we are blessed to be able to do that. We also run, there's a commodity food sharing program as well, and community cafes and other kinds of nutritional programs for seniors. And
What constitutes a senior now? Am I a senior? I got the ARP thing in the mail. I just thought I'd ask.
For us, a senior is usually around 60 and up. It depends. Although, what everyone should know is that if you're caring for someone so you may be in your 40s or your 30s even, and you may be helping with a grandparent, you're welcome to call us if you're a caregiver. And that's another component. That's another program that we have. We have two kind of groupings of expertly trained social workers who do nothing but field questions all day from people about aging-related issues. One group handles sort of general help, and then we have a separate group, the family caregiver team, and they work with people who basically are unpaid caregivers. So even if you're helping a neighbor, not related, and you're in your 40s and you want to get some information for him or for her, you're welcome to call us. I think a lot of people feel like you have to be the senior to call, but you don't. We also, one of our programs, which is a bit of a somewhat separate in a way, is Maine Senior Games, and then you can compete at age 45 in 5-year age bands. We want people to stay active and healthy and all that. But then one of the program, I was actually lucky. I'm not sure if Alex, if you didn't actually present at the 100 Plus Women Who Care.
Not this year.
So I will tell you that it's I don't know how to describe it other than it's kind of like being on this crazy reality show where you go in, so ahead of the organization's meeting, you send in your idea for what you'd like to present, as Deb said.
For the 100 Women
For
Who
the 100
Care.
Women Who Care,
Yeah.
for the next week.
Yeah.
It's like 10 days before or something. So Deb has time to vet everybody or whoever helps her. And so you get there that night and you know that your name is in the hat and you don't know if you're going to be drawn. And there's usually 10 or 12, maybe.
Yeah.
There's several
I was
in the
gonna say,
hat.
how many
Well,
women are there at the meeting? Because there was a ton of women.
Our last meeting, there was about 160.
So 160 women all wondering if their name is
Well,
going to
they may
be
not have
called.
nominated themselves.
Right.
Oh,
So,
right.
but there's usually
Right
12
now, we're
or
up
15.
to about like 16.
Yeah.
People are getting a little more daring to
Because
present.
you have to come prepared to present, or
That's
not.
what
or
I'm
not.
thinking.
You might
I
not
would
make
be a
it. So
wreck.
you sit there, and there's a great social time, and it's lots of fun. And
You're rehearsing in your head.
You're in your head. You're kind of, and we actually were selected the night of the auction, which was, as Deb said, the check goes right to the organization. So the charity gets whatever number of
100%.
checks from individuals, or in some cases people have sent cash, and Deb handles that herself, but we know who the person is. So every time I give, I get a thank you note from that agency. So if I'm using that for taxes, it doesn't go through 100 Plus Women. So we had a wonderful auction the night that we were there. So there was a lot of buzz because we love to shop and not to stereotype, but we had a great time bidding. So there was a lot of energy in the room. And then you sit down and they say, we've got this thing, and they pick out the 3 names. And then your name gets picked, and you're immediately, you your mind goes blank. It's kind of like that high school, you have to stand up and give a speech.
Right.
Anyway, so it was really wonderful, lots of energy, and I was there with a colleague. Our other colleague couldn't make it that night, and so she immediately texted our colleague that we were selected to present, and then the pressure was on because there's this text battle, like, oh, she should say this, and just to make sure you say this, and all of which, and you have 5 minutes, which isn't that long,
It's not that
although
long.
it's a long time. So you get up there, and anyway, the group is very discerning. They ask excellent questions, and so you stand up and you say your piece and get the good questions, and you try to work in those points that maybe you didn't get in the first 5 minutes, because you really can't quite
Right.
prepare with
Yeah.
this speech, and it's hard to read too because you want to connect with the audience.
Right.
Then you sit down after the third one, and then they vote, and it's just like pressure, 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 and then they come out and announce. And while the vote is happening, the previous recipient presents their program. So one time we had an acting troupe that came and did, they were teenagers who at risk kind of thing, and
Yeah,
they
Maine
had,
Maine Inside Out.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they did a
Is it-
great
I want to say
presentation.
Margot, right? Isn't that her name? Who runs it? I think it is Margot.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, just amazing.
So they
That's
came to
cool.
present. So that, what a showstopper that was, kind of thing. So you're watching this and you're waiting for the results, and then they come out, and it's almost like the confetti falls from the sky. You won! Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! So it was the most amazing experience. And for
Confetti, I like
for
that.
us,
Maybe we, yeah.
what we presented, confetti cannons and T-shirt guns, which
Yes.
Yeah.
but so we presented. So one of the things that the family caregiver team deals with quite a bit is people who have loved one with dementia and cognitive loss of any kind. There's a bunch of different kinds of Alzheimer's is the common term, but a bunch of different kinds of dementia.
My mom has that.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yep.
So call us. Yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we have 2 day centers that we've run the Truslow Center for years in Saco, but 2 years ago or longer we planned to move it. It wasn't large enough for what we needed, and we bought land from the Y actually and built a freestanding property in Biddeford, right near the medical complex. It's very convenient for caregivers, for people with cognitive loss to go during the day and have like a senior center for people with cognitive loss. We, prior to that, had opened in Falmouth the Stewart Center, which is in the old Luntz School building. The town moved the schools, and there's this beautiful building left, and so we're in that building and with the Stewart Center. And so we've been offering this type of care for many years. But what we had problems with is we had this need with people often have to get their funding together, and we charge an hourly rate for the care, and people need, sometimes it's episodic where the person who was caring for the person with dementia breaks a leg and suddenly they need some help. They may sell a car and use that funding for the hourly rate, or they may apply for Maine Care or be a veteran and apply for a veteran's benefit, trigger their long-term care insurance. But in that interim time when they're kind of in crisis,
Right, there's nothing.
there's nothing. So we had this idea, we're calling it a member access fund. And the problem is that it doesn't sound very exciting for a donor to say, oh yeah, sign me up, I want to give money to the member access fund. And we didn't have any testimonials as well that we could say, gee, these folks got this and here's how it benefited them. So we decided to use that for our 100+ Women Who Care presentation. And I had actually that day spoken with a woman, and it was a perfect example, obviously changing names and some details to protect their privacy. But it happens every day where people just, they need this support for their loved one. And so the Member Access Fund has now become a thing, and we have other plans, and we can say we have it, and we can say people have gotten the money and used it to get the bridge to get to their other funding option. And now we're using that to leverage to raise other money for it. So it's kind of a sustaining thing for us, so that we can continue to provide a little bit of a startup fund
Yeah.
for someone. So
And it was significant, right? It was
it's
like
$11,000. Yes, and to
$11,000.
all of our organizations who've received this money, it's a game changer for.
Well, and for the state of Maine, we were talking earlier, so I understand that Maine has the largest elderly
oldest
population
state by median age.
across,
Yep.
right?
Florida's number 2.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
dementia
yeah.
is a thing.
And just
It is-
aging in general is a thing. And
Yeah.
so for us, we do receive some federal and state funding, but the funding has been flat despite the fact that we're serving more people. There's more people who are aging.
Yeah.
The funding has really been flat, and it's often precarious. One day you read one headline and something's going to be cut, and the next day it's maybe going to be restored. It's so confusing and hard for us to plan. So we are constantly looking for opportunities to fundraise with different groups. And this fund we knew it was needed, and we just couldn't. It needed a critical mass, and so this $11,000, it was a huge game changer. So not only was it a wild experience to be doing it and fun, even if we hadn't made it, and I think that was before the raffle started, which what you said earlier, you've trained or taught a lot of people about your organization. Every single woman in that room, I would bet $1,000, is a caregiver to someone older.
Right.
There's no question. Right. So for us, just being able to talk to all of them and then be in the newsletter and all that as a presenter, even if we hadn't won, the fact that we won was all the sweeter. So it's an amazing organization, and we cannot thank the 100 plus women who care. I'm proud to be a member. I encourage anybody to join, any women to join. It's very low key and lots of fun, and I've met some great people, got some good things at the auction. It was fun.
And I did get a thank you from the Division of Aging.
Oh, good.
And it was lovely. It was
Good,
really
good,
nice. It was
good.
nice to get that. And it's cool. You hear so often that groups are taking so much off the top. They get a percentage. And how cool that you give 100% to them.
100%.
Yeah. So the auction, I think, helps you fund the web hosting and all that,
so
which
we
is
did
really
have-
important to have.
We had an auction because I funded it for a while.
Yeah.
So and it was fun.
Yeah.
And we raised almost
So if somebody wanted to
$7,000.
donate auction items that directly support 100 Women Who Care, the organizational stuff, so that 100% of the donations can go, then they can contact you. And I believe that the guys are putting your name and website underneath.
Right, and what we're looking for is actually sponsors. So
Sponsors.
someone who wants to get their business out there can have a table at our meeting, or they can donate a door prize or a raffle. So
It's a great group of women with
we just-
discretionary income.
we just have a lot of fun.
It is fun. And I've made some new friends, and I really highly recommend it. It kind of checks all the boxes: philanthropy, socializing, networking. Especially during the winter, getting in the February meeting, it was the day after the Super Bowl loss. So everyone was a little bruised, but we all got together and had a great time. And the fall meeting is May, August, November, and February.
Our next meeting is May 7th.
Yeah,
May 7th.
Yeah.
The Italian
7th.
Heritage.
So can I be 199?
Absolutely.
And come
200.
200.
299.
Yes, just go to the website.
Okay, I'm
and,
going to get 299.
You might be.
So
300.
Alex, I'm
300.
excited to hear about is it Family Hope?
Family Hope,
Family Hope. Man, this is so cool. As someone who has suffered from mental illness myself, and being in the advocacy work that I do around sex trafficking prevention and child sexual assault prevention, mental illness plays such an enormous role in all of this. So I understand that it was 2012. Let's see. I don't want to say it wrong. 2012, Donna Betts' son took his life.
And so it's interesting because I'm hearing about you talking about a bridge and people who are sort of at this point where they're calling and they need help right now. It's not just a strategy. And so what I love about this organization and what I love about you talking about sort of the divine intervention in the heart of all this, and I can feel it in here, is just when somebody can take the worst. I just get chills when I think about her losing her son and then making a decision to not want another mother or father to go through this alone. I've been a social worker for over 20 years, and I've worked in the toughest situations: prison, child protective, group homes, shelters. I felt when I was younger that I wanted to see it all. I felt like as a social worker to be able to get to a place where I am now, where I can say, no, I'm experienced, you're not alone. When I learned that I could bear witness to tremendous pain and shame and fear and uncertainty of other, and have compassion as well as stay focused on problem solving, I thought, well, let me look this up. Oh, right, it's called a social worker.
Yeah.
And so that has all culminated in Family Hope. And what I love about Family Hope is that if you call us, we're going to call you back in 24 hours or less. And so who we serve families and loved ones who have adults, so 17, 18 and up, with major mental illness. So, and
What constitutes major mental illness?
so something that's really chronic, like sort of something that gets so in the way of your functioning that you're not able to kind of care for yourself. You may be, I don't know, I mean, yeah, you may be a burden to your family. You may be involved with the law. You may be in and out of hospitals. I mean, you know, we have a couple of different profiles, and it's interesting. There's sort of this profile of sort of the failure to thrive, right? It's kind of the kid that was told, like me, you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up in the world, and you sort of had everything, and then you get out there and you realize it's not quite like that, and so you develop sort of anxiety symptoms. You might have ADD, but you're also, you know, have a medical marijuana card and aren't helping around the house. And, you know, so sometimes when parents come and they're feeling desperate, you know, I just give them an opportunity. Just tell me your story. Let me just hear it. No judgment, no nothing, you know. You're a mom, I'm a mom, we love our kids. It doesn't matter if your son is schizophrenic or your son is in his own way. You're scared, I'm here to listen to you, let's problem solve this. And so the experience of working with each family, no matter what the issue is the same. It's from the heart. It's, we want to help you find the place for your child and help you be safe and set limits.
So a resource, I'm trying to understand.
What would a resource look like?
Yeah, so I'm a mom, and my child is schizophrenic. Sometimes takes meds, sometimes doesn't take meds. I'm
Right.
constantly worried. The child hasn't left home.
Right.
She's 23 years old. I'm thinking I'm never going to take the trip to Italy because who knows what she'll do when I'm gone.
That's right.
And she's not taking care of herself.
Yeah.
I call you.
Yeah.
And besides listening to me, what concrete help am I going to get from you?
So if you call Family Hope within 24 hours, and this would be a difference of calling any other kind of therapist or anything, I will come to your home, I will meet you in the community, you can come to my office, whatever works.
Okay.
And we usually will meet between 2 and 4 hours until everything's out there. And what I'm listening for is where you're at, what the story is. I'm asking questions like, where did you get the diagnosis? When did this start? How many hospitalizations? Let's evaluate the level of risk in terms of harm to self or others. What are the family resources? What have you tried? What have you not tried? It matters if you have a loved one who has been on medication and was successful and knows I have schizoaffective disorder. That is a very different situation than the 23-year-old, the 30-year-old, or the 50-year-old, because I have that. Those are within my clients. I have an 83-year-old mom where they absolutely believe that they are a saint, that they are on a mission from God. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
You know, and that the police won't come because they're not quite a danger to themselves or other. So we evaluate things. So here's an example. I'd say, okay, so we can't get in through the front door. Let's talk about how we're going to get in from the back door. Okay, so your child who's 40 and schizophrenic doesn't have insurance, but you do. So let's get you in with a really good psychiatrist who's also a family therapist. You come in under the auspice of trying to figure out how you guys are going to live together, or that the child is going through a divorce. Child meaning the adult child, but once they're your baby, they're always your baby.
Right.
Right, and so that way a clinician can have eyes on that person, but it's not, you haven't sort of made them go down a road that they don't want, because in the state of Maine and most states in this country, you have the right to be mentally ill. You can be schizophrenic and be in the
Choose not
community.
to take your
right.
medicine. Yeah. So you're going to see things that maybe I wouldn't see. You're more experienced,
That's right.
and so when somebody has a highly stressful situation, maybe their perception on it is limited, where yours is more vast, and you might know more overcomes.
And that's a really good point, because Family Hope does not mess around when they hire people. And I will toot my own horn because I think it's really important. I was young. I was a great social worker when I was young. I did a lot of wonderful things. But when people come to me at this point, in this serious of a situation, in these kinds of illnesses, you need to meet with somebody who is not afraid, that knows what you're talking about, that actually can explain to you, okay, well, they mentioned what's the difference between bipolar with psychotic features versus schizoaffective versus schizophrenia. So, and I want to be clear, we don't meet with the identified person with the mental illness.
You're meeting with the family members
the family.
that need support. Yeah.
But I take in a tremendous amount of information. So, for example, in one family, mom said, I can't do this one more day. And I think that's where our hearts kind of came together, because you know, she came in with dad and said, I'm leaving this house. My son is not going to die in this house, and I'm not going to do this way one more day. And I thought, okay, let's get to work. Yeah. You know, and so the first thing I did with that family is I got dad a psychiatrist, because he needed medication. He was being suspended from work because he was getting overwhelmed and sort of getting into rages. And he's a wonderful man, but people can't live
under that amount of stress.
Under this amount of pressure. And so I told them, I said, I'm not comfortable with moving forward in any other way with this family until you two are stabilized. And so not every social worker would know that we can't go to problem solving right now. Yeah. Dad's on Prozac, not that that solves it for everybody, but he's feeling so much better. I hooked him up with a psychiatrist who is so incredibly skilled in major mental illness that for the first time he can sit with somebody who can give him expert advice, and he can tell a story to somebody where they're not going, wow, that's crazy, or, you know, that's unbelievable.
So with the 100 Women Who Cares donation, what part of your program did that support?
They got me. They were able to hire a person in York County. And I will go to York County, I will go to Cumberland County. If you call Family Hope from wherever you are, we will try to help you. I may not, somebody called us from Calais. I couldn't go there, but I would Skype with her. I would still help call and you know, find resources. One of the things that we're looking to do now that we know how helpful it is, and I have to say that the gratitude, I don't know if, I mean, it just fills me up to be a person who can sit in front of somebody who said nobody's been there for us, and just appreciate it, but also believe in your skill and know that you're doing your thing right. It's a beautiful thing. And so what I love about our collective is we're still looking at what are the barriers. Okay, so now we've got somebody in York County. Now we want to get somebody in Androscoggin County. And one of the things that I've noticed since I've been there is we need eyes on people who don't have access or who cannot leave the home. They're so paranoid or they're so OCD. I have a client who can't eat. He's malnourished. So I'm problem solving. How do I get adult protective involved? Is there a way to kind of do that? Yeah. So one of the things that we're looking at is, what are the barriers? Okay, I want to help, you want to help. What are the barriers? Can we get a grant, for example, to pay for psychiatrists that would be willing to go into these homes to do the first check, to maybe even write the first prescription, so that that space between not being able to leave and get access and doing it. So if in anti-anxiety, you can't get a prescription if a doctor hasn't laid eyes on you, right? And so I started calling psychiatrists I liked, and I said, what would it take to get you here? What would I have to pay you? And they said travel time. Could there be a repertoire, a Rolodex of people who wouldn't charge you $175, $275? So these are the kinds of moments where I feel like I'm thinking of the 300 cribs. Even just the idea of doing a pilot program where we would do in-home evaluations without being hooked up to an agency. This is how we're going to revolutionize how we're going to change this. And being able to be here, and even if one more person sees this and we can help them, it's $500 to help a family for a month at Family Hope.
So that's good to know. So
Yeah.
$500 will
$500.
help a family
Right.
for a month.
Yeah.
So the people who are watching, and as again, the guys are putting your name and your website underneath. That's a good concrete number.
$5,000 to run the agency for a month, and that's now. We work so hard to not have any overhead.
So 500 for a month for
Yep.
her. So for the bridge program, for someone who maybe can't afford the hourly rate, what would it take for one person to be able to have access to that day care educational program?
It's very individualized because some people are in the process, they're just waiting for the mom's house to close, and that's in 2 weeks, versus the Veterans Administration has a wonderful program to fund day center hours for veterans, and they go through the veterans process. They do an excellent job in Maine, but there is a longer tail, so it really depends on the individual. So we like to look at what their needs are. If the closing got put off for some reason, sometimes that happens. It's case by case.
Yeah.
But the center staff, Marilyn Durgan, is the manager of our CML Cohen Center in Biddeford, and she has years, and her staff has years with us, and they really, in fact, they have repeat family members, like they might have a grandmother, and then her sister might come, or brother might come, later a younger brother might come if they have a dementia issue, and then she will probably start seeing some of potentially their children, depending on how old they were. So we've been around long enough in both centers, so we have a sense of kind of what might work for an individual family situation. But it can't, unfortunately, it's not huge, but it's enough usually. So it can be a few days, or it could be a few weeks.
This is 2 people.
I know.
Right?
The
I know.
impact, I mean,
impact that it's
that's what
made,
touches my
right?
heart, and the story
I'm
after
listening
story.
to them, and I'm thinking, you hear this stuff, 160 people like this are in attendance at 100 Women Who Care quarterly meeting.
Right.
Well,
And,
and
everyone
afterward-
is impacted too. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone sitting has their own story.
Right.
And I've heard from so many people that have reached out to me and said, this has just made such a big difference. And I mean, yeah.
Well, and then within the meeting and the networking, for example, there's a woman who runs a company that imprints hats and T-shirts and whatever. And so I met her, and she gave me her card, and I know she'd probably give us the very, very best pricing because she's heard the need.
Yeah.
And there's people who are in marketing with radio and television, and they come right over. Here's my card. And I don't think you were there at the Family Hope, but I'm sure that happened for your presenter because it's this big sort of supportive community. So the friends that we've made through this organization continue to pay tremendous dividends for us.
That's a really good point.
Isn't that
The
nice for
in-kind
women?
donations? That's something else
Right.
too, because we do an auction. I mean, there's so many other ways too. Just like you said, the door prizes or the auctions, like any kind of, any little bit kind of helps.
We've been around a long time, but what impressed me, and I actually voted for that night. I can't remember the other two charities, but I've had friends who've once their children aged to a point they can't get information about their loved one.
Right, the confidentiality.
And
is
the
a big thing.
confidentiality, and sometimes they put up those walls, and the parents feel powerless. And so I've had some friends who have used Family Hope, but you're so small. I don't remember what your annual budget is, but for you guys, it's such a small niche charity, but it's doing incredible work.
We would like to have a Family Hope in every single county in the state of Maine. That's our goal.
Right. It's
So
amazing.
in our last 10 minutes together, our last minutes here, I just wanted to circle back around and see if there was anything that you felt like you'd really want our audience to know about you and your organization.
Only 10 minutes?
I know. I'm like,
And you have to share that 10
okay.
minutes. You
So
can't
I
have it
guess
all.
We have a wonderful website, smaaa.org, so all caregivers should bookmark that. If you're, we're all aging happily, that's a good thing. But as you age, check in with us. We do a lot of things. I haven't even mentioned our Medicare counseling, which is tremendous. It's independent and objective and saves people lots of money as they enroll in Medicare and then re-up in the fall. But what I would like to say about the day centers is, in people with dementia, sometimes our CEO has said dementia is a lot like cancer was 30 years ago, and I think it's because there's no cure yet, really, and people whisper about it. And so what we would like to do is change the narrative and have people speak about it and act earlier. So call us. That diagnosis is so devastating when the man you married is no longer the man you married, and it's very heartbreaking. And so call us as soon as you can after that diagnosis and get plugged in. We have classes on strategies to help care for someone who is going through the memory loss process, to keep your own sanity and to keep because sometimes families differ on how to treat dad or mom or Aunt Susie or whatever, and call early and build in these supports before it's episodic, and get your loved one. Visit our day center, get them enrolled, because when there's a routine, I so often hear, oh, my
They do
mom
so
just
much better.
looks
Yep.
out the window all day. But mom then isn't accepting of the idea. So when she comes, she wants her Barca lounger, she wants her bird feeder. And we have that too, but they're used to what's comfortable. So if they start early, we had one lovely member who referred in her obituary. They thanked the staff at our center, and they said that she called it the country club. And she's like, am I going to the country club? And said it was, and it was just, that was first lovely for the staff. But that's the way we want people to look at it, that we're a fun place to be, home with more to do, it's safe and secure, but not to wait, because sometimes I think you pull back because your loved one is not the same person, and friends start to drift away. They don't know how to talk with a person who keeps repeating themselves, and so it's a holistic approach. And once cures start to happen, I think it's going to be like cancer, because now we talk freely as we should, and and we share stories and all that. But to not go underground and to call us, because we can be a partner. So.
I think if I need to be hospitalized or institutionalized, you should call it a country club. I would
Yeah, I
totally
love
go.
it. I love
put
it.
my lipstick
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
my
exactly.
tiara,
Your hat.
send me on my way.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you would like to wrap up with?
Yeah, I think I would just say that any family that comes to us, we look at as an absolute individual. So I liked what you said about the confidentiality. I see myself as a coach. I have a therapeutic background, and therapists and social work take different hats. But for example, in a situation like that, I'd say, but do you know that you can call the therapist, the doctor? You can say whatever you want. They can't say it. There's lots of ways where you can say, so hypothetically, if I did such and such and such, what do you think could happen, or what may happen? Or, they're getting older and they're worried about their finances, and I would say, listen, this is the behavior. I'm suggesting that you have a trust that is just for healthcare and just for this. And let's talk about your older child who's moved to California because she's scared to have to oversee this. And so Family Hope is a place that does not shy away from the very painful, challenging things, but I don't let people walk out of that room if they don't have a little bit of hope and they know they're not alone. And that's That's what we do. I'm proud of
You
it.
said 5'2". You're 5'2".
I know I'm 4'11" and a half.
Or 11 and
or
a half.
3/4.
See, you don't mess with the shorter women.
Mighty Mouse.
Right? She's tenacious. Like, it's
exactly.
just tenacious.
It's yeah.
So circling back to where we started now, Deb, man, thank you for that divine inspiration. You know, that
so
divine
much.
inspiration to put that note on Facebook and then to be willing to show up. You know, you said, I have a dream.
One, stick with it.
You know, I have a dream. And then did you say 75 people came together the first
time,
meeting?
yeah.
And now almost 300 in attendance. You're only 3 years old.
You gave me
$111,000.
my favorite job.
$111,000.
So we
a lot
really
of money.
doubled what, although I did have a vision, but it really grew. But what I want to say to people, look at the difference. So if you're a woman who hasn't heard about 100 women, you know, the impact, I mean, just
And
thank
so
you
much
for
It
sharing.
changed my life to be able to
Yeah.
So
have
much
this
fun.
job.
It's
And it's fun, and the
not-
ripple effect, and yeah.
So one person created this huge thing. And that's what we try to tell our audience. We don't try, we tell our audiences and each other. One person really can make a difference.
Absolutely.
Follow your heart.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, be willing to have the difficult conversation, be willing to have the big dream.
Yeah.
Imagine it, and it
And
will
happen.
happen.
It will
Just
come,
show
right?
up.
Just
and,
show
yeah,
up.
Show
That's what
up
we have to
and
do.
be-
And if you want to show up for something fun,
Yeah.
show up to 100
May
women who care.
7th.
May
Okay.
7th.
Yeah, May
Okay.
7th,
So-
and you will
Heritage.
just
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you all
Thank
for
you.
showing.
for having us.
Thank you.
so much.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us in Facebook Live.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for joining us. So we're going to end this session of Issues That Matter. Next week, I'm sure Robert will be here to cause trouble because that's what he does. We wish him well on his interview today with the governor. And thanks. See you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.